Welcome to Galactic Grandmother, Heart to Heart. My name is April, and my special guest today is Ellen Wier. Ellen was just 12 years old when she had a near death experience after being kicked in the head by a horse. And this experience really set her on her path in this lifetime, I believe. Ellen has a master's in transpersonal counseling psychology and music therapy. She can actually feel the frequency of musical notes, and she uses her crystal bowls and essential oils as healing tools. Ellen leads shamanic journeys, meditations, beautiful retreats internationally. She does spiritual counseling and angel readings, and I'm very excited to introduce you all to my fellow San Diego neighbor. Welcome, Ellen. So
Thank
nice
you.
to
I'm
have
so
you.
happy to be here.
Yeah. Um,
Thank you. So happy to be here.
uh, a near-death experience at age 12 is very transformative, I would imagine. And I've heard what happened when you were basically out of your body and in a coma. Would you like to give that background for our audience?
Of course, yeah. I used to love riding horses as a kid, and I was at my first Western lesson, I think, and the cinch slipped and I fell kind of under the horse. And then I apparently held on for a while underneath the horse because the saddle had slipped underneath the belly of the horse a little bit and I was kind of holding on somehow as
Uh,
it was told to me. And then I fell to the ground and the horse was spooked and kind of ran around and reared up and kicked me in the temple. So I was kicked in the right temple and taken to a local hospital in a small town in Texas where I was riding in Hillsboro, and then eventually was taken over to a larger care center in Waco where they had kind of cool, like the neurology team that worked on JFK was the one of the doctors had been on that same neurology team, and so I had better care there and was in a coma for about a week.
wow.
Yeah.
Your poor parents. As a parent, it must have just been terrible for them. What did the doctors advise your parents?
So, they didn't have very good news for mom and dad. The more days that went by, they said I wasn't really responding much to stimuli. And they suggested that they put, something on bedside, like, home movies or something to stimulate my mind. Or I don't know if that was an idea by my parents or by the doctors, but I think that they suggested that. So my parents started playing home movies and favorite movies of mine. And it was the music of one of those movies that actually helped to wake me up. So my dad brought in a Disney movie that was 90% music and decided to play it at my bedside. And I remember very clearly at the end of my near death experience that it was the music from that movie that woke me up. It was so amazing.
Wow. And what happened when you got kicked in the head? Did you immediately leave your body, or what was that experience like?
I don't really remember what happened or when. I do remember the point in which I was taken to the other side. I never saw my body like some people say. It was actually more of a journey. Like truly, the first thing I knew, I was on a raft of sorts. It was kind of what I would call like a wooden raft,
Uh-huh.
and I was on pink clouds. So the pink clouds were like a river. And we were kind of floating on this raft. And when I say we, I mean I was joined by um two ascended masters. I didn't know the one on my left side
Uh-huh.
who had long brown robes on. Um, but I knew Jesus who was in front of me and recognized him from my childhood. I grew up in a Methodist home and he was there to greet me. Now, neither one of the guides communicated with me at that point, but I just knew that I was safe and I was loved and I was welcome and that everything was okay. And it was at that point that I was, I left that. I don't remember necessarily floating, but just kind of moving into this place of light. I didn't have a physical form at that point. I felt the weight. That was the most impressive and powerful part of the process for me, that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, but it was like there was a weight, a blanket of light. And it was so beautiful and so loving and so connected and so, mm, it was just everything. It was everything. And I felt the weight of it first, and then I just became the light.
Uh-huh.
And nothing else mattered. Like I had no human concept. I just was love. I was light. I was part of something greater. Prior to that, though, in the light, I do remember faintly kind of seeing different colored trees and kind of rivers of different colors, colors and music I'd never heard or seen before. But that faded so quickly. It was really just all about the light. And so there I was in the light. I experienced it. I loved it. And then I found myself back on the raft again. And that's when Jesus was communicating with me. And that's when I had the whole conversation that led me to consciousness and led me through the most powerful experience of my life.
Oh, please tell us about that.
So, when I got back to the raft, so many things happened at once. It was
Uh-huh.
almost as if I had no human concept. I knew that nothing on earth mattered the way that I thought it did. That everything I worried about, it was like taking me away from the heart of the truth, of the light, of the love, of unconditional connection to source. So in that moment, I received messages and downloads from, you would go through many lifetimes to receive this, but I was told that it was about relationship. It was about lifting each other up. It was about helping each other, forgiveness. And we have the power to create whatever we want on this plane. And it was very empowering. And I remember just receiving lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes of this powerful, beautiful information about we all have a purpose, we all have meaning. Every single thing, every blade of grass, every plant, every tree, everything on this planet was placed here in the most love and adoration for our journey. And I've come to know that, and believe that we truly are the children of God. We are truly source children that are here on this plane to learn and grow, almost as if we're, this is our classroom, right? And many of those messages have come to me since, because ever since I came out of my near death experience, I've had lots of messages come to me. But in that moment, I remember Jesus communicating through his thoughts. And I remember the man in the brown robe just holding space and being familiar and loving and kind, and this big presence that I knew, but I didn't know who he was.
Uh-huh.
And Jesus asked me at the time if I wanted to stay in heaven or if I wanted to live. And I made this choice not of a human mind. So people would think, well, you want to live, right? Well, no, my soul was complete in the light. And I was told it doesn't matter what you choose. There's no wrong. There's no wrong answer here. And so I didn't have the pressure of human construct to make me choose something. I chose it straight from the heart of my own presence and my source. And I remember at the time seeing the trajectory of my brothers, and it wasn't bad or good, and my father. And I was told they wouldn't actualize their purpose on life the same way if I were to stay in heaven. But I
Oh,
wanted to stay because I felt connected.
uh-huh.
And again, there was no right or wrong. I wasn't worried about their process or anything. But in that moment, I chose to live.
Mhm.
And I remember communicating with my mind that I wanted to live. And at that moment, I got human construct back. All of a sudden, I was flooded with gratitude. I fell to my knees and I was giving thanks to Jesus basically for getting to live. And I just remember that gratitude more than anything else in the experience. It was just the most beautiful expression of love. And I believe it is the most beautiful expression of love that we hold in human form, is this gratitude, because there's no fear, there's no, dissonance or dense energy. It is truly love and gratefulness and joy all wrapped into one. And I remember that moment saying, I want to heal people with music. That's exactly what I communicated. And so it was at that moment that I went into the darkness again. And the darkness was not a scary darkness of a coma. It wasn't like, it was like a womb almost, like that kind of energy.
Uh,
And I saw music notes on a staff, and the music notes were all a different color. So I could see them moving, but I couldn't hear anything. And the way I explain it to people is that it's like one sense could work at a time. And so I saw the music notes moving on a staff like animated, and the staff was far away, but it was moving closer and kind of fluid, right? Kind of moving through. And then it just went through my head. And um, there was darkness, but there was a tiny pinprick of light. Like I point down, it's kind of like down below to the right, tiny pinprick of light, but it wasn't light. This is what's so cool about it. I describe it as light, but it was sound. And the sound was so faint, I could almost not hear it at all. I mean, it's one of those things where you're like, am I crazy? Am I hearing something? But then I knew it was the music. And I focused everything in my being on that music. I mean, it was probably the hardest thing I have ever done, which sounds weird, right? It sounds so strange, but I needed to pull myself or
mm,
pull the music to me. It felt like it was almost like a pulling. And then the music got so loud, it was booming in my head. And then I opened my eyes and I was in the ICU at the Waco Hospital, and I could see the curtain of the bed in front of me and a TV kind of up on a corner. And the nurse came running over, and then I fell back out of consciousness. And that was really the beginning of my life. I didn't remember any birthdays, any first days of schools, nothing. Nothing before that came back to me. And that was the time that I woke up. And, my life kind of has been full circle with messages taking me back to that moment, because everything I do has to resonate with that, or I won't do it.
wow, so powerful. You had me in tears too.
I just feel that I remember that feeling of gratitude. I can feel it now. It's
Yeah,
just,
it's heart opening.
it's a
Yeah,
gift. It's a gift.
yeah. So now you feel the frequency of musical notes. Was that something that developed, or was that something that you recall having before this experience?
No, I mean, I don't remember much before the accident. I did get maybe 3 or 4 memories that kind of popped in. The neurologist said you'll have memories maybe come in the next 5 years. I know that I did play piano. My mom was a piano teacher. I come from a musical family. But the way that I describe it is I feel the music on different parts of my body. So when listening to live music, or even sometimes if I'm really meditating to music, I can feel the notes at different pitches hitting different points along my spine and across my shoulders. And to me, it's just a reconnection and a resonance and a reminder that there's something greater. And music to me, it says it's an unspoken language. It's a universal language, right? That we can feel and emote and express through music, and we don't need to go through the conscious mind, because the conscious mind really actually kind of takes us away from the point sometimes. I mean, we
Right.
believe our thoughts, we think it, we believe everything that we think, and it's just that was part of the practice as it was shown to me, was the practice of controlling thoughts, releasing thoughts that don't serve us, and replacing thoughts with positive thoughts that really lift us upward into the trajectory and the funnel of moving toward ascension. And yeah, so the I can feel it. And then over time, I've developed the ability to take nature sounds and feel those same frequencies in up and down my spine and my arms as well, and along my back. But it's taken a long time to figure out how to do that. I actually have to expand my awareness to my mental body, which is outside of my physical body,
Uh-huh.
in nature. Because if I'm like, I tried it with the waves. I did a wave meditation. I was in a retreat that I was hosting in Hawaii, and my goal was to bring that frequency into my body through the waves. And I sat there for a while, and I was told, you're trying to feel it in the physical, try to feel it in your emotional body. So then I expanded my awareness to the emotional body, and I could feel the waves hitting on the outside of my energy. And then, just like magic, it moved into my physical body the same way music does. And it was just as strong, but it was starting here, if that makes sense.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it almost seems like the musical frequencies stimulate different, chakras or energy centers in you,
Yeah,
like that
exactly.
moving up and down the spine.
Yes, exactly.
Hi, Neil.
Hi, Neil.
Um, I and I'm also fascinated with how you combine that with the frequencies of the essential oils as healing tools. I think
Yeah.
that's a marvelous combination. How did you come about with that?
Everything that comes into my life is driven by source. So I just know that um first of all, the crystal bowls were one of them. And I found that I was led to the crystal bowls. I went to a crystal bowl meditation and, heard the frequency and sound of them. And the person who was leading the bowls was, singing music over the bowls. And it was a song that I recognized,
Uh-huh.
but not from this lifetime. So it was like, and then as he sang the song, I saw an image of myself, um, like a medicine, kind of a medicine Native American image, um, for a medicine man. And I remembered that lifetime. And then he started singing another song, and the woman that I'd come with next to me started crying. Her twin brother had passed away the month before, and he was singing their song. And I thought, wow, for us to go into this circle and not know this man, never having been there before, not knowing anyone in this chapel, it was this beautiful circular chapel in Austin. Um, I thought there's really something to this. And so the bowls told me at that moment, you need me. And then plants started speaking to me through the oils. So I started working with myself using the oils because I have Lyme disease and I live with it, and I'm in remission right now, knock on wood, but I use them for my own physical healing and for that of my children who also have Lyme disease. And I noticed such powerful things happening in my life. My frequency started to raise. And I started noticing that with clients, when I put it on my hands, because they didn't know I was using the oils, I put Angelica on my hands, and 10 out of 11 of my clients that week saw angels. And then I started recognizing that the oils would tell me, like, what the plants would be like, oh, this person needs this or this person needs that. And I would look up the spiritual or emotional or physical meaning of that oil, and it would be right on. So it's just as animals started to speak. So people in my sessions started seeing animals. And so I quickly met with a woman, and she's a powerful shaman friend of mine. And she took me through animal medicine and kind of taught me about the animals. And, then people started, it's been such a progression through my practice. All of these things that are coming through, they're all frequency. We
Oh,
are frequency. Everything is frequency.
yeah,
And the more we can raise our frequency, the more we stay above the wellness line physically, the more we're connected to spirit.
yeah.
Some of these oils have like frequency that's in the 500 or 600 or 700 megahertz range. That's incredible. That's
Oh, yeah.
beyond anything known to exist on this planet other than that, especially northern lights, which is grown under the northern lights in Alaska. So all these things kind of come in. Crystals have come in, all sorts of amazing additions. Breath work, I'm trained in holotropic breath work. My partner Neil does, he does his own version of beautiful breath work for the grounding part of our work together when we do our workshops. So I'm always bringing in things as I'm told to. I'm just listening. And
Uh-huh.
what's interesting is I met with a hypnotherapist last week. We're trading sessions, and I said, I know you're trained in this. I'm trained in the Bonnie method of guided imagery and music because I use the music to help people journey to their presence to receive information. And I said to her, I just want you to know I'm not trained in this per se, other than that training, which is amazing. I'm really led by source. And so we get through, and she said, you're doing everything that I do. And, we have a very similar approach. She does very similar things, but has questions that she adds on and asks as well. And I have, angel messages. So for me, it's really whatever I can do to connect to my presence and to support my client connecting to their presence. Then the angels just come in. I mean, I had a client yesterday who's an amazing master of energy work and channeling the masters just like I do. I feel like I can, bring in the energy of the angels and the masters and light beings. And that's the realm in which I work. Not everybody does that. But she had this cathartic experience of a funnel of beautiful blue energy and laying in a pool of blue and releasing and being held and lifted up, and all of this beautiful stuff that I get to witness because I'm there. So all of these tools, they just come in, they just
Awesome. Yeah.
yeah,
Now,
I don't know if that helps.
and you're writing a book. Are you talking about all of this in your book as well, or?
Yeah, the book is so interesting. It's been such a journey to see how it developed. At first, it was going to be just a discussion on my near-death experience, but I thought, well, I mean, who really wants to read about my near-death experience, How is that going to help them? So then I realized that at each point in my journey, I've had a lesson that brings me back to source, whether it be a friend in my life or a training like the oils or the music or the bowls or the breath work, or even experiences in life like my divorce, which was unexpected and very, very difficult and traumatic at the time, but which led me to a new and beautiful and new awakening. So, this dark night of the soul moment that I went through again was a reawakening. And many are going through the reawakening right now,
Uh-huh.
especially during the pandemic. So I started receiving downloads. The moment that I left my ex, I was given kind of some sacred books. I didn't know it was coming, but the person who gave them to me said the masters told her that this was going to happen. The books helped me to reconnect to my spiritual self. I started meditating, I started going inward, I started listening, and I started receiving some really powerful messages for the universe regularly. So, what I've done is I've taken my life story and my own experience of reawakening multiple times in my life, and the messages I'm getting from light beings and have gotten from angels and guides from the time that I came out of the coma to now. And I've taken all those messages from the pandemic time and put them in at the end of the chapters. So each chapter is like, here's a version of what I went through. Here's the angel messages for you and how you can cultivate this for yourself. And so, what many people don't realize, or they might, is that we are in the midst of a global awakening. It's already begun. We're in a golden age. Back on the 21st of December last year, which is actually a year ago today, the day that
Right.
we're down.
Happy solstice to you.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. I didn't even realize it
Yeah.
was solstice then, but I got the message that we chose the light. So more than 50% of the world chose light, which means we move into a light age, a golden age. Now, the past year has been all about healing the divine masculine, bringing the divine feminine and masculine together to lock armor rather than step in front of each other, right? We bring in more of our soul body. Our soul body entered more of our physical form mid-year last year. I know the exact date. And then many of us are going through this dark night of the soul, nightmare moments that we never thought we'd ever experience in life. Okay, those are opportunities for us to step into love, step out of fear. And it was all by design. We're being pushed to the edge so that we can fly. And we're being assisted with waves of ascension waves that are coming through to the earth now to help assist and move us into this new golden age. Whether we know it or not, it's happening. Now, when this light comes in, it uncovers the shadow. It uncovers the shadow. So we might be going through the dark night of the soul, which I was trained in because I went to a school, a Buddhist university that trained me in the dark night of the soul and journeying and altered states of consciousness and all sorts of Jungian theory. That's my master's, is a dual master's in music therapy and transpersonal counseling. This is the time we were trained for. And it's just happening. And so many are losing hope and they don't understand. And they seem like it goes on forever. Well, there is a way, there is a fast track through it. And it's by connecting more to your presence, by releasing and surrendering to your presence. So these are the things I talk about in the book.
Mhm.
And these are the things that I do in my work, in my twice a month workshops, in our retreats. And then in these podcasts as well. I talk about this so people know you're not alone.
Awesome. Now, do you have a title for the book yet? And do you know when it will be coming out?
So the title of the book is Waking Up in Heaven: What the Angels Are Trying to Show Us, or what they're trying to tell us. What they're trying to tell us.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a even before that is a documentary coming out, and then my story will be featured in this documentary, which is so cool. It was filmed in Hollywood. I felt very special going to, and it's coming out in the next 2 months, and it's called Beyond the Grave. And then I have more information about this on my website, which is wellnessmusictherapy.com. We're going to have a wait list for the book for people to sign up for that. You can come to our local events. You can sign up for retreats. I've got a mini retreat, a 2-day spiritual retreat happening at the end of January. Very limited, very small, 10 people. And we're renting a retreat space here in the Encinitas area. And then we'll be doing a networking event the next day. Like, so spiritually conscious entrepreneurs can come and meet up and get to know each other. And you can, learn through that process too. So we have a lot of cool things coming up now.
You're a busy woman, not to mention you're a mother, and
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, I do. 3 children, beautiful children.
awesome. You did talk about the messages that the beings of light have given you and how to co-create with source. And
Yes.
I thought that that was just something that people should hear. If you want to talk about that.
Well, it all rolls into one big kind of theme for me. It's this whole idea of creating our experience through our thoughts. And when we're in dark night of the soul, when we're in a dark time, a dense time, or maybe we feel out of control, or that the country we're in, or the state, or wherever, the city, whatever our circumstances, whether we have illness or disease or things are happening with career, we have many types of like deaths within our life. We can have a career death, we can have the physical healing, that all these things come through, and we can even kind of lose our belief in the systems that have kept us here. Like, it could be anything. We can be upset by war in the world, but to allow the thoughts about those things to have power actually can manifest more of that in our lifetime.
Mhm,
um, so as it was told to me by the light beings, is that we control our experience by controlling our thoughts. So anytime a negative thought comes into my head,
mhm.
my practice is to release it. And I learned this through meditation practice at Naropa, which is a Buddhist university. And by the way, the figure to my left was Buddha, but I didn't know it because he was thin and bald when I witnessed him. And
Uh-huh.
I was used to seeing the big belly Buddha.
Right.
But my first, I was going up to a meditation class one of my first weeks at the school, and I saw a depiction of him, young, thin, and bald, and I realized it's Buddha. That was one validation in my life. I'm
Uh-huh.
on the right path. You're right. So this whole idea of surrendering to source, releasing control, and then consciously directing our thoughts to positive thoughts. This is how we manifest. This is how we create. And even more than that, you can co-create with source by bringing in love, because the currency of the universe, the currency of the divine, is love. And if we are creating out of love, and our intentions and our wishes and our manifestations come from a place of wanting to create more love, the universe will respond. So really feeling and embodying the feeling of joy and love, like
Right.
how good it would feel to create that adding that feeling into the visualization is a key that many people miss. And affirmations and meditation, obviously very, very powerful practices. But you'll want people, if they truly want to co-create with source, they'll want to have an experience of connecting with their presence. And we don't get that in the day-to-day world. That's the work that I do. I am not the guru, I'm not the guide. I don't know the answers for you or anyone else, but you know the answers.
Right.
Your presence knows the answers. So if I can help connect you to your presence to receive whatever messages you need to receive in that moment
Right.
around your intention, like, that is co-creation. So
Mhm.
once we have that opening experience, whatever it is, like for me, I do the breath work and bowls, but mostly I just do the music journeys too. That's when I channel and when I connect with my information. And as I see light beings come in, I tell people, if they don't see it themselves, which most of the time they do, I'll explain, there's an angel here and has a message for you. And I'll describe how I see it for them, or if it's standing, or if they are standing in formation. Formations have meaning too. Then people will take it from there and they receive the message themselves. So that's kind of the co-creation and manifestation piece is really interesting. I've been studying it for the last 3 years as well. And it is about the thoughts. It's just,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I can confirm in my meditations this whole year it's been all about um, that co-creation of visualization, of actually feeling into it as if it's already here. And and when you really get into that gratitude, into that the imagination and the emotion of it, it just for me, it just opens up my heart. And then I know
Yeah.
because the heart is a portal to your higher consciousness. And when that happens, it's just flowing. I feel it. And I feel like that's when the co-creation is really happening for me. And
Yes. Yeah.
and also the negative thinking. I've been told in meditation also to when, as empaths, we pick up on a lot of thoughts that don't even belong to us.
Nope.
And so if something comes in that is not serving your highest good, just reject it, just release it. We don't
Mhm.
need to hold on to it.
Yes, yes, that's true. And we all have, it is my belief that we have extreme abilities when we connect through love. And I think there's a lot of divisiveness in the world right now. And I think that's, a little bit by design because it keeps us
Right.
out of power. So, the divisiveness that we see in the media, which, by the way, I don't even watch the
Right.
media anymore because it is intended to divide.
Uh-huh.
And and I feel the dense energy from it. The moment I moved in this house, which was the first day of lockdown, ironically, out of the house that I had shared with my husband and moved into this home, there was not media on in the home. And I just want to share with people that what you engage in and what you allow into your consciousness and your brain, it is a seed of what you manifest. And so feeding that division keeps us in fear. And when we are in fear, we are not in our power. But when we are in love and we are lifting each other up and we understand and forgive and don't try to force our viewpoint onto another person,
Right.
but we really see someone for who they are, then that is our power and our strength. And I believe as we move more into that love for each other, we will unlock abilities in ourselves that we didn't know existed. Psychic abilities, healing abilities, I know it sounds crazy, but I truly believe this is what our brains are capable of. We don't even use half of our brain, right? Like, so, I mean, to me, I'm fascinated in the science of the brain and how the amygdala works and the emotion and all that. And I can talk about that. I can do that because that was my training. But there's something bigger. And to ignore that and consider that or imagine that it doesn't exist is just shutting off the biggest part of our potential as humans.
Right. Well, and this is one reason I'm doing this channel is to make people aware of our true human nature, which
Mhm.
is infinitely boundless
Yep.
because we are one with the creator. We are that love energy. Yeah.
And it's that awakening is not always what you think of as easy, right? Like the awakening means we see things
Hmm.
that we've been conditioned not to look at.
Right.
And now that we have the opportunity to break the conditioning and the system that we grew up in, like almost the matrix, the conditioning, the energy that we grew up to believe, it can make you feel unsafe at first.
Right.
But it's truly, truly a gift because you live free of any bounds with human limitations, right? You can start to create the life that you want. You can move through your shadow in order to find the golden beauty light underneath the thing that you're protecting most of all, right? And that is your love and what you can give to the world. And that's when the gifts really start coming through. People are awakening to gifts that they never knew that they had before, and they'll call me and say, well, I'm getting these visions at night, or I'm being taken up into the stratosphere at night. I can't talk to my family about it. I grew up in a very traditional home. And I'll say, yes, I understand. You this is a gift. Embrace the gift. The surrender and trust of source is the quickest way to move through that period of awakening,
Mhm.
as I've found for myself and as it's been told to me.
I agree 100%. Always felt so blessed to be on this beautiful planet, experiencing all of nature's beauty and
Mhm.
one another, in a true physical sense. And I think that, it's part of that perfect creation as well. Would you
Mhm.
like to talk about, the physicality of our
Yeah.
spirit?
Well, one thing that came to me and has come to me since my Hawaii retreat last year. So I had two destination retreats last year, one in Hawaii and one in Mount Shasta. And I have one coming up for couples in May in Costa Rica. Now, the reason that these are significant is because each time that I'm drawn to a place, there's a new message. And the message in Hawaii was as above, so below. And it reminded me of the message on the raft that was downloaded to me that we can create heaven on earth. Um, I'm the same way. People talk about how they can't wait to ascend and and leave, let this be their last lifetime. And for me, it's not about that. It's not about like holding that energy of, oh, I'm ascending and this is where I want to be. No, we already hold that connection to God. We have that ability right now. The gift is living here and getting to help shape the new earth and getting to be here and live in our passion. And I think for me, many lifetimes I didn't receive that. I didn't get that. And I know what a joy this is. I get to sit with people while they receive messages from their presence. I get to see light beings come through in my home. Yesterday, Metatron came through for someone, and it was just the most glorious. I cried. I'm giving the session, and I'm bawling while I'm leading her through this beautiful exchange of light where she's feeling lifted up and connected to source. And it's just continual like flow and exchange and cleansing. And I'm like, this is the greatest. How did I step into this life and how can I keep it going? Because this is
Right.
wonderful. I'm absolutely loving it. Does it mean it's been easy? Well, no, I had to recover from a head injury. Like I've made choices in my life to reawaken. I made choices to hide my gifts. There are all these things that we go through, but it's all part of the process.
Right.
And so if we act as if every experience in life is meant to happen for our own greater good, it changes the way that we interact with the world.
Uh-huh.
So someone who's in the victim mentality of saying that, hey, well, I can't wait to ascend and get out of here or whatever. I get it, right? And sometimes we all feel that way. But if you can learn to embrace it all as a lesson in part of this classroom that we call life, then yes, then we receive the connection and we can feel that complete connection and guidance and collaboration with source without having to leave the human plane. Because we're here for a reason, we know it. We might as well just embrace it.
And it's just so beautiful here. It's a beautiful, like you said, the plants, the animals, each other,
Yeah.
when we're all operating from that place of love. And I have seen the future where it will be a heaven on earth.
Yeah,
And
me
I,
too. Mhm.
and, and I think that's why we're here at this time, is to help facilitate that.
We get to usher it in. We get to help others move into it. Many who are leaving now are not gone. They're there and they're supporting in a different way. In and of course we feel the loss and the sadness of their passing, and that is not ever to be taken lightly. But I remember my whole idea about passing shifted in my near-death experience.
Uh-huh.
I realized that we have a purpose, we have meaning. So we want to stay here and be in the lesson, because if we choose to leave the classroom before our time, we just have to come back to the classroom and get the same lesson again, right? But those who move on, there's an ascension that happens on the other side, a reconnection, a remembering, a repurpose, and then a choice to come back in a new way and be more connected, more evolved, and then more of a role of bringing the new realm in. And yeah, there is a heaven on earth, and it is here, and it's there's not a veil anymore. We have embodied more of our soul body. We have parts of our soul from every being that ever was and ever will be is part of who we are. Even ascended masters, we hold that energy in our own soul and that connection that we can pull from. And that's a true gift. We haven't had that before, and there's more to come.
Mhm.
We keep expanding, we keep growing, we keep moving into it. And it might sound wild to some, but it is very true, and it's showing itself to be true to more than just us.
Uh-huh.
So many are getting the same message. I'll get a message about the light wave ascensions, that they're called Elohim. Um, the 7 waves that I witnessed in a vision, all coming in different colors, like waves hitting the earth with light beings, and was told that these are ascension waves that are meant to help us. Well, I had that vision back in September, and I shared it with my spiritual community, and many saw the same thing. And then some of the bigger, the more well-known angel reading people out there are now speaking of it too, and have said we've just received the second wave in November. And so it's people are getting the same messages across the globe. I think it's really time to listen.
Now, I've recently heard a woman who described, rather than this big, dramatic solar flash that so many people talk about,
I've been hearing about that. Yeah.
she described it as a fog of high frequencies that comes through the earth plane, and people fall asleep from it. When we wake up, the frequencies are so much higher. Now, I heard that, I've heard so many descriptions of
Mhm.
our elevation and frequency. And but it coincided with QHHT woman who posted one of her clients' experiences, and that was this woman under hypnosis saw like a pastel colored fog, wave of fog that came to her, and it just seemed to come right through everything, and she fell asleep. Have
Mhm.
you do you have any information about, are these Elohim waves that are coming in? Are they something like what people are talking about?
I would describe the veil as a fog, kind of the way I've seen it. It's a fog of light. So, I did get quite validation on that when you were talking about it. For me, I'm not sure if it'll be that dramatic. For one thing, the frequency of the planet Ray was risen through COVID because we stayed inside. And those who measure the Schumann resonance, is that what it's called? The Schumann resonance?
Correct.
Notice the Earth frequency went up so significantly, more than it ever has in human time. And so the Earth is able to support a higher frequency being. So I never know if it's through choice and direction of source about what humankind will do, or if it's as I'm seeing it. So the way I saw it was that multiple waves of light came in different colors. So in each huge wave of light hitting the earth, like there were light beings within the waves of light coming in. And I was shown to me that we would move from spiritual toddlerhood to adolescence very quickly through the waves. And then, I was shown 7 different color waves of light. And, according to others that I'm reading, they're saying the second wave has already hit. The timeline in which I was given was early 2024 for the completion of this. And I don't know. Like I said, one would have to refer to their own presence to see if that resonates with them. Some other spiritual healers in my circle have also seen early 2024. And again, I don't think we're meant to know. And I don't think that we are shown the way it comes through. You know,
Right.
sometimes, like, when I first moved here, I was woken up at like 11 at night. I can't even remember. And it said, you have 21 hours. So to me, that was a message, but I knew, okay, I'm not going to take it fearfully. I'm going to receive it. It was a message. And 21 hours later, I was kind of like, what the heck is going to happen? And I received a call that my nephew was in the hospital with pneumonia. He was okay, but I'm very connected with him. So you don't always know if what you're seeing is the way that it's going to come through. But I've heard a lot about that process lately, because someone was telling me what you do is almost exactly like QHHT in your work, other than I bring in the angel messages. And I don't know exactly what it is, but I can tell you that when a client sees and experiences something, a vision for the world, I see it too. And there are some that ring incredibly true, that, you know, these visions that are coming through, I can resonate and say, yes, that I see that as truth for myself too, because I witnessed it in the room with them. And I think so. There's element of truth to everything,
Right.
but we aren't really meant to know. And the surrender is part of the process. Like, okay, we trust and we surrender that there is something greater, and however it comes is meant to be.
Right.
But I think that sounds really beautiful. I think if a fog does come through, then I would be like
Uh,
Sleeping Beauty and go to sleep and wake up and be in a higher vibe. You know,
Right.
that's,
Right.
yeah,
It's, yeah, there's just so many depictions of how we're raising our frequency, and it goes from very dramatic to, you know, naturally, organically increasing. And I've been shown our future, but I have not been shown how it happens, and I'm
right.
fine with that.
Same here. I'm told what's coming. There's a reassurance that's given. I've seen and witnessed what the new golden age will look like. And I've witnessed how it's come about before. Like, this isn't the first time that we've entered into advanced civilization where we can move into this golden age and this spiritual enlightenment. This has happened before on the earth, and long before I think historians knew it happened. It's happened.
Oh,
Um, and so I think that we just get to be along for the ride. And how lucky are we that we
right.
get to be here at the beginning of the new age. Yeah.
Is there something that you think is important for everyone to know right now? A message perhaps has come through. Um,
I think everyone should know the power that they hold,
mhm,
and that they don't have to be confined to one belief system or what they're being told. I think that if everyone knew how to tap into their own presence, to connect to their presence for the answers rather than seeking outside of themselves,
right.
and were given the tools, right, the tools to connect to their presence, that they would celebrate others, they would love others, they would put less onus and control on the world and what they're doing and how they're getting by, and they would allow themselves to be the answer. And I think that the moment that we can do that, I think the world will raise significantly and we will support each other. And I think also the other thing is that if we look back over the last 2 years and you try to imagine if you ever could have imagined yourself at this place,
Hmm.
you can't. Go back 10 years. You couldn't have predicted where you are now or the journey that you've been on.
Right.
And looking back, you can also see maybe the value and the lessons in the things that have happened. And if you can let go of the memory of the pain and hold on to the lesson, that's
Right.
another form of surrender, right? And so I think that if I were to leave anyone with that message, it's like, look back, reflect, and really think about how far you've come, and
Hmm.
give yourself acknowledgement because you are amazing and you've done this and you're still in it and you've persevered through everything. And that's not for nothing. And
Right,
you are needed. You are needed in the world right now
right.
because there's no one else like you with your background and your history and your experiences and your lessons. And we can all save one person. We can all help many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you are amazing. I
Thank you.
thank
So
you
are you.
so much. I'm in such gratitude for you and all the work that you do for the collective. I just love you, sister.
I
And
love you
I
too.
thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. I want to read your book when it comes out, and then we can talk about that maybe. That would be a good, yeah. All right, my dear, you have a fabulous day, and we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
We will. Thank you. This was such a joy. Have a great
Yeah.
day.
All right, you take care. Bye bye.
Bye.